Good morning, folks, and here's an article from the National Post on the books from Dr. Seuss that got removed. And interestingly enough, the two of these six books that got pulled were ranked as the world's best-selling children's books. Now, if anyone remembers their childhood, they had all kinds of toys and games and books to read. And I can remember the books of all kinds of authors like the Velveteen Rabbit or the Paper Bag Princess or Winnie the Pooh. And you get a little bit older, you read books like Charlotte's Web, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and Anne of Green Gables. Like these are books that are almost worldwide. And suddenly, the owner, or whatever you want to call the Dr. Seuss Enterprises, has determined that these books are no longer fit for print or no longer good for consumption because they treat some minorities or this or that improperly from an author who drew photos almost 100 years ago. So obviously some of these things might not be culturally sensitive, but it's awkward that they're now just figuring this, oh, this is bad, you can't do this, this is wrong. So let's look at some of these photos, and luckily Tristan Hopper from the National Post did what he could to find like what could possibly be offensive in these six books. So here's the first photo. This was done in 1937. Page from "And to Think That I Saw It on Mulberry Street." So here we go. Here's the poem. A Chinese man who eats with sticks, a big magician doing tricks, a 10-foot beard that needs a comb. No time for more, I'm almost home. It's a colorful, simple illustration of four people, and I'm not sure what the backgrounds are involving, but it's all very fantastical. But the only thing that might be remotely offensive, and this is just remotely, like I don't know how you can consider this offensive in the slightest, is a Chinese man who eats with sticks. And there's nothing wrong with a Chinese man who eats with sticks, because the Chinese do eat with chopsticks. So do the Japanese. So do many other Asian countries. So saying this inherently is not wrong, nor is it offensive. And again, this is all one colorful, beautiful done children's book from almost 100 years ago. So I don't get the offense. It looks rather fun. And I see nothing wrong with poetry when you're talking about food and eating with sticks, Chinese or otherwise. So I don't know. These are pretty cool illustrations, especially when you're reading Dr. Seuss. And compared to all the other books that you might read, Dr. Seuss is one of the weirdest looking stuff out there. Let's keep going. Here's another one from "If I Ran the Zoo." I'll hunt in the mountains of Zamba Matant with helpers who all wear their eyes in a slant. Oh, maybe I pronounced that wrong. Zamba Matant with helpers who all wear their eyes at a slant, and capture a fine fluffy bird called the bustard, who only eats custard with sauce made of mustard, and also a very fine beast called the flustered, who only eats mustard with sauce made of custard. A little bit of a tongue twister for me, even at my old age. So, with helpers who all wear their eyes at a slant. So we're assuming those are also Chinese or Asian or some Asian denomination. That might be offensive to some people, I guess. But we're just describing the way that people look. And we can do the same thing with black people who have certain types of hair or hairstyles or certain kinds of eyes from certain cultures, how our faces are organized in certain ways, skin tones. Apparently this is offensive. Noticing that the Asians have certain facial features, which is what we do with our parents when we recognize, hey, my parents' noses are bigger than mine. Why is that? Or their chins, or their ears, or their whatever. Can't describe stereotypes because those are all inherently bad. I don't know. It's really a strange thing to to talk about. Here we have also the clogs that they wear, whatever you call those sandals. The Asian denomination. You can't. Oh, this is offensive. Oh, you can't show this. Here's another one. Inuit-looking figures depicted in scrambled egg super. So I guess this is more the the Russian or the Canadian Inuit. I don't know. Eggs. I collected 302, but I needed still more, and I suddenly knew the job was too big for one fellow to do. So I telegraphed north to some friends near Fazole, which is 10 miles or so just beyond the North Pole, and they all of them jumped in their catamasaid, which is sort of a boat made of sea leopard hide, which they sailed out to sea to go looking for grice, which is sort of a bird which lays eggs on the ice, which they grabbed with a tool which is known as a squitch, because those eggs are too cold to be touched without which. So this is kind of really tongue twisters poetry for kids, which I think is actually pretty good, because not only do you get an illustration, you get a poem, and it's hard to read. So the kids are like, "What the heck am I reading? What is a fazole? What's a catamasaid?" And they have to ask their mom, "What's a catamasaid?" Like, what? The mom has no idea. Maybe that's a real thing. Maybe Dr. Seuss made that up. But here we have a bunch of people, or whatever you want to call, whatever you want to call these Inuit-looking fellows. They were describing them as some friends near Fazole, and you're like, what are these things? I don't know. They're just hunting eggs, which is ridiculous in a fantastical setting. And you're talking about the freezing waters. So what's offensive here? Didn't people or in the North or Inuit or Eskimo hunt in the freezing water because it's always freezing? Why can't they be dressed like this? Why can't they be described like the way they're depicted? I'm really not seeing anything offensive in this depiction at all. Here's a guy's laying eggs. He's like grabbing them. Is that the offensive part? They're laying eggs? Okay. Here's another one. Let's see what we got here. There's no poem here. It's just a picture of the Eskimo fish in McElligott's pool. And I mean, like, what is wrong here? I don't know. They're fish and they're wearing, I guess, what an Eskimo would wear, so fur. So the fur's coming around them as if it's skin around their heads. Yeah, I don't. What's wrong with this illustration? It's just a bunch of fish. Here we got another one. Let's see. This is from the Nazim of Bazim, or Nazim of Bazim, featured on Beyond Zebra. So we have this. I'm not sure what kind of animal this is, with a really tall and elaborate antlers. And here he is. He's just, chilling on the hump of this animal. He's got all this stuff hanging from their antlers. Some clocks. You got an umbrella. I'm not sure what's going on here. But I'm not sure what the problem is. It's just some guy riding an animal. All very dignified. Seems like they're having a decent time. I guess because he's some dude in the desert. Is Nazim of Bazim? Like, oh no, can't have an animal, a fantastical animal, being ridden like this. Is that against animal rights? Like, what are we sensitive over here? Not sure. Anyway, here's another one. This is one from his 1942 photo in whatever cartoon he was publishing in. I'm not sure what's going on here, but this has nothing to do with Dr. Seuss, rather the books of Dr. Seuss. So why they're talking about the onset of Japanese American internment camps, I guess. I don't know. Hard to say, but these books for kids are good. They're colorful. They're simple. Some of them are elaborate with the poems. But this is what's been taking off the market. So if you guys can find books for your kids, and there's all kinds of great books for your kids. These are just the classics, and you're wondering why they're being taken down. But this is what's happened to, I wouldn't even call this cancel culture. This is just the sign of the times of book publishers or owners of these books taking down these books because of potentially offensive comments. So, I don't know. What do you guys think? I think these are totally fine. And I think kids are smart enough. If they're smart enough to read a Dr. Seuss poem that's that elaborate and complex and a tongue twister, I think they could read between the lines. Oh, yeah, this is just an illustration. We get it. But hey, thanks for listening, folks. Have yourself a great morning.